shoot.
That never, ever gets old. Hi, I'm Paul from SwitchedOn, and today I'm here to answer the question, is the Switch port of Rebellion Software's Sniper Elite V2 any good? If you want more honest reviews of Nintendo Switch games big and small, then please subscribe below, but for now let's dive in to the closing chapters of World War II and review Sniper Elite V2 on the Nintendo Switch. Now, whilst the V2 moniker denotes this game as a sequel to the original 2005 Sniper Elite, it also cleverly ties into the story of the game, which sees the final days of the Second World War and the Nazis finally on the ropes. The Russian Red Army see a window of opportunity to get their hands on the remaining German scientists responsible for creating the devastating V2 bomb. The Allied forces are understandably none too pleased about what the implications could be of the Russians armed with V2s, and send you, in the shape of US sniper Carl Fairborn, to sort things out and stop the last of the scientists being taken back to the Soviet motherland. What unfolds next is a 10-hour or so romp across a war-ravaged landscape of bombed-out buildings and deserted roads, as you take on a variety of missions ranging from straight-up snipe that Nazi in the face to planting bombs and escorting key targets to safety. There is just about enough variety in the types of missions, although ultimately all the missions do start to fall into a familiar pattern of sneaking around and sniping before you reach the climax of the story. Having not had too much in the way of a history with Sniper Elite, preferring at the time to favour the more fast-paced Call of Duty, I struggled initially when I started reviewing this game. I would rush out into the open, machine guns smoking, trying in vain to hit any Nazi that dared look at me funny. This almost always meant an instant death and a growing frustration. I decided to try the sniper rifle. The clue, after all, is in the title, so, against all my Call of Duty instincts, I looked at the mission briefing, looked at my surroundings, and I resisted the urge to immediately pull out my machine gun and go all Rambo, and crouch behind a wall. Okay, so far so good. I've survived more than 10 seconds. This is an achievement, although to my dismay I didn't actually get an achievement. There are no achievements in the game for surviving 10 seconds, which actually should be a reward. Anyway, from my cowardly crouch I poked my head up above the wall. I saw a lone Nazi, who once laughed as he easily dispatched me out in the open, but this time he had no idea I was there. I hold down the scope button, line up the crosshairs on his head and pull the trigger. The slow motion arc of the bullet exiting my chamber, rotating through the air and smashing straight into the enemy's cheekbone, shattering his skull into a mass of blood, bone and brains, had me grinning like an idiot. I quickly ducked back down behind the wall unseen, and it was at that point I finally got Sniper Elite. Patience is rewarded, careful planning is satisfying, and stealth is a must. As well as your trusty rifle, you also have an array of tools to help you negotiate a level, possibly the most valuable of which being the bird spotter's favourite friend, the binoculars. Once you can get Carl to a safe location, it's well advisable to pull out your binoculars and scout the area. Spotting an enemy allows you to press ZR, which will mark them with a red indicator, and without enemies showing up on a minimap, this is the only way you can keep an eye on them as they move around the level. When you have your focus down the scope, it's invaluable to know where the enemies are, as they will often flank you and hit you from the side. Tagging your enemy like this also makes scoping from target to target much easier than waiting to see where their bullet trails are coming from. You're also armed with an array of explosives, such as mines, grenades and dynamite. My favourite though is the trip mine, and oh how I laughed many times as one of my carefully placed booby traps caught an innocent Nazi trying to sneak up behind me. So that's enough about gameplay. It's a classic series that I'm sure most people will be familiar with. The main question most people have with these older ports of games to the Switch is how does it perform? Well, thankfully the guys at Rebellion have done a superb job. Sniper Elite is up there with a masterclass of Switch ports, from the remastered graphics and a rock solid performance to including additional DLC and online modes. I was lucky enough to spend some time with one of the developers at EGX Resd recently, and one of the things he was keen to stress is that their aim was to ensure 30 frames a second at all times, and without being an expert on such things, I'd say that's been hit consistently. In all the time I've spent reviewing the game, I've never seen so much as a micro stutter. Even when the action gets super crazy on screen, the engine is rock solid. Another nice feature for the Switch version is the inclusion of the optional motion controls for fine aiming. These only activate when looking down a scope, but really help line up those important headshots. Now whilst I play my Switch mainly in docked mode, I did spend a fair amount of time playing this in handheld too, so I could let you know how it performs portably, and again I had no complaints about the performance or look of the game at all, although I did find the Joy-Con sticks a little bit more sensitive than I was used to, but this can be adjusted in the options. As well as the main story, which you can play as a campaign or standalone missions, there are a wealth of other modes to get stuck into. One of the great features in Sniper Elite V2 is the option to play the campaign in co-op mode, either locally or online with a friend. Unfortunately, I've not been able to test this feature yet, but to have the option there is superb. There are also 3 other co-op modes, including the intriguing Overwatch mode, where one person plays as a sniper up in a tower, protecting your buddy on the ground, who is a basic grunt trying to get from point A to B. I can't wait to try this mode out when it's up and available. In addition to co-op mode, there's a standard multiplayer mode with 7 different match types for a maximum of 8 players in each, which again, unfortunately, as the game isn't out yet, I wasn't able to try myself, but I will make a multiplayer video after launch and I'd love to play against some of you guys. Finally, there are online leaderboards, which is a brilliant addition in a game like this, and also a new frame-by-frame photo mode for capturing those epic nut shots, and yes, you can aim low, and sharing them with your friends. Okay, so let's talk value. At just under £30 and $35, this feels well priced for a remaster, considering the wealth of content, and if you're quick you can get a 10% discount off this price, which is obviously even better, an absolute recommendation at that price point. For the completionists amongst you, there are a number of gold bars to find hidden in the game, and each level has a number of glass bottles to snipe, ensuring you'll want to come back and explore the game again and again to get 100% on this one. So in summary, I think Rebellion have hit it out of the park with Sniper Elite V2. How a remaster of this older game will be received on other platforms that have a wealth of first-person shooters already remains to be seen, but on the Switch, so starved of decent shooting games, this feels like a real premium title and is right up there with the Dooms and Wolfensteins for me. If the online implementation is solid and well supported, then it could even challenge for that top spot. The skeletal kill cam never gets old. I must have seen it hundreds of times during my review, and every single time is a joy. Though I should mention there is an option to reduce the amount of time it's shown or even turn it off completely. I did actually struggle to find many negative points for this review. Sometimes the game can feel its age with invisible barriers keeping you from heading off the beaten path, the lack of any way to get from cover to cover smoothly, and the way your character has the turning circle of a large bus. The AI can also swing from brain dead, where they will run on the spot waiting to be shot, to elite deadshot assassins, meaning it can be brutally difficult at times with just a couple of hits seeing you gasp your last breath. Thankfully, none of these issues really spoiled my time with the game though, and I had an absolute blast once I got over the initial hump of trying to play the game like Call of Duty. Sniper Elite V2 Remastered is like nothing else currently on the Switch. Its slower pace and emphasis on stealth may not be to everyone's taste, but there's no denying the love and care that's gone into bringing this port to the Switch. I'm delighted to be able to give Sniper Elite V2 an 8.5 out of 10. Although please do bear in mind I haven't been able to try those multiplayer modes. Okay, thanks for watching my review of Sniper Elite V2 on the Nintendo Switch. I hope you enjoyed that, and please subscribe below if you're not already subscribed, or drop me a thumbs up if you do already subscribe to SwitchedOn, and a big thanks if you do. But until then, thanks for watching this review again, and I will catch you on the next video. Cheers guys, bye!